Thank you, Sima. Thank you, Kathy and Yuda, and also Shimshon Arel, Chair of our Executive Board, for your hard work on behalf of the Weizmann Institute. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 72nd Annual General Meeting of the International Board of the Weizmann Institute of Science. Needless to say, it would have been greater pleasure to welcome you here in person. Believe me when I say I had all sorts of scenarios about how my first year as president will turn out, and I can guarantee you that this wasn't one of them. On the other hand, the virtual nature of the current board meeting enabled us to bring Weizmann to your doorsteps and into your homes, and also to open up to a broader audience. So hello to everyone, near and far. I am very happy that you are here with us. While this has been a year of sticking close to home and restricting our travel, we have recruited all our resources, and although grounded physically, we have been able to spread our wings in many other directions this year. Some of you may remember that last year I chose trees to convey the concept of growth and expansion. This year I'm aiming a little bit higher, toward the treetops and the birds. I'm doing that partly because I feel that although we have been grounded physically, our wings have not been clipped by this pandemic, and we have been able to overcome barriers and fly in new directions. So let's start by talking about the coronavirus pandemic. How did a virus, a microscopic microbe made of clusters of genes and protein, just send the world into disarray? And how will we overcome it? These are the questions that everyone around the world is asking. So this year has demonstrated that today, more than ever, the world is looking to science for answer. Better testing methods, diagnostics, vaccines, and drugs aren't going to come from anywhere else but from science. And we can actually contribute to a solution. So like every other organization, we have had to cope with lockdowns and national regulations while still trying to maintain business as usual as much as we can. But as a scientific institution, we have a critical role to play in offering answer to the world and possibly a contribution to a cure. Within a few weeks of start of the pandemic, more than 60 projects sprouted up across campus, focused on better understanding COVID-19. These projects include developing faster and safer tests for detecting the virus, helping reveal its structure and genetics, and improving methods for contact tracing and tracking the spread. You will hear later on from some of our scientists working on approaches to curing and preventing the disease. So while basic research is in our DNA, so is our instinct for using our knowledge to help. In fact, our scientists thrive when facing challenges. So it was just instinctive to go back to the lab and start applying their expertise to the virus. It was a totally bottom-up, grassrooted effort reflecting our scientists' agility and curiosity and the environment of academic freedom. This is the philosophical hallmark of the Weizmann Institute. The challenge actually caused us to fly a bit further, a bit higher, beyond our own territory of basic research. We find ourselves in a different landscape that requires us to apply our urgent attention to a specific disease. Many things around us have slowed down, but there is a silver lining. In fact, a recent study by my neurobiology colleague, Professor Rafi Malach, provides strong scientific evidence that when things slow down and much less is going on around us, our brain springs into creativity mode. Rafi and his lab members figured out that this so-called resting state, when very slow fluctuation of neuronal activity take place, this is precisely the mechanism underlying creativity. So now I invite you all, in the comfort of your homes, to practice your resting state, and I will continue. This is just one example that underlies my belief that these challenging times will lead to a new and promising outcome in science. Great outcomes aren't just the result of work done in our labs by ourselves, They arise in partnership with an ecosystem that includes scientists throughout the world and colleagues in other Israeli scientific and medical institutions. We are very excited about one special new development that will be part of our flagship project in artificial intelligence. The new normalization agreement between Israel and the UAE has enabled us to create new scientific partnership. In September, we signed a memorandum for understanding with the Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence in Abu Dhabi. We will soon travel to the UAE to discuss the detailed agreement. The best kind of science is borderless, and the more cross-border collaboration we do, the more we minimize the space political dispute takes up. One excellent example of that is Making Connection UK, a program of Weizmann UK, which is now in its bat mitzvah year, 12 years in the running. Thanks to the generosity of UK donors, more than 60 grants for joint research between Weizmann scientists and UK colleagues have been funded since the program started in 2008. Making Connection France has utilized this model and the historic partnership with the Pasteur Institute to build this new initiative. We are very happy to see this program developing beautifully in France. We are also spreading our wings in the clinical sphere here in Israel, and I'm excited about our new collaboration with Schneider Children's Hospital for joint pediatric research across a range of disease areas. As you know, we are a relatively small institution, and we are going to stay compact. Our size is one of our strengths, but we are growing to some extent. Our overall student and postdoc body has grown over the last decade by approximately 20%. In particular, our foreign students, masters, and doctoral students population is growing quite a bit. Since science is an international endeavor, we need to ensure that our campus continues to be an international hub of science. Our goal is to expand our interfaces with partners overseas, which ultimately enriched our science. This is visible at the Gershon Kax International Office, which supports foreign scientists and students. It has been working around the clock during the pandemic to attend to all the travel challenges and restrictions and oversee quarantine housing for those who have arrived from abroad. After nesting comes migration. About 2/3 of our postdoc population is from other countries. We are in the final planning stages of the US-Weizmann International Residence, which will be a beautiful modern apartment building and a hive of activity for postdocs. Our American friends are making this building a fundraising priority. And here I want to tell you something surprising. We expected that because of the pandemic, we would experience a dramatic decline in the number of students and postdoc applications from abroad. But the opposite has happened. Our postdocs and student applications have increased. We don't know exactly why, but we think that the hyper-focus on science right now may be the reason. Another example of flying higher. Just as important as diversifying by country of origin is diversifying gender. Our Women in Science program have been very successful under the leadership of Professor Leah Haddadi and have expanded in scope and number. Our Israeli National Postdoctoral Program for Advancing Women in Science, whose pillar donors are the Clore Foundation and the Refson Foundation, has funded 136 women doing postdocs abroad since 2007. A total of 64% have attained faculty track position in Israeli academia. 15 of these women scientists have received position at the Weizmann Institute. This is a huge success. We also created the new position for advancing diversity. We hired Dr. Meital Eran-Yona for this role, and she comes with many years of experience. There is much work to be done, but our goal is clear. Diverse science is strong science. A community that values equality is a guarantee for future success. While we always talk about science working to benefit humanity, I like to think of this effort as ensuring that all of humanity is working to benefit science. Our philosophy has always been that best people makes for the best science. The postdoctoral period is a critical period in their journey on the road to excellence. A good postdoctoral fellowship can be the wind beneath the wings for new scientists, allowing them to lift off and begin to soar. As a result of the current situation, some Israeli postdocs doing their fellowship abroad have been forced to return to Israel prematurely. And Israeli PhD graduates who had planned on carrying out postdoc research overseas have not been able to leave. This led us to create a way station for these talented individuals. We are offering 25 of the most outstanding young scientists across Israeli institutions temporary position in Weizmann Lab. This will enable them to either complete their research or commence it while still in Israel. To fund this effort, we established Postdoctoral Continuity Fund, and we are turning to our worldwide friends to provide the support for these amazing postdocs. The fund is not just safety net for them, it's another way to invest in the future of science and to do so in a time of need. The Institute continues to recruit the best new scientists, and the pandemic has not affected our ability to recruit them. Weizmann's reputation among Israeli postdocs is stellar, and our recruitment pipeline is very healthy indeed. 11 new scientists are joining in 2020. We can see them all in this slide. At any given moment, there is so much going on in the different areas on campus, but an aerial view of the